this right here is what we're gonna be making. This is all randomly generated. This is just a single MIDI note, and it's generating all these sounds. So this is what we're gonna be getting into today in this video. Hello and welcome to Catalyze Music Academy. My name is Zaak Kerstetter. I'm an Ableton Certified Trainer. And today I wanna talk a little bit about writing melodies. And if you're like me, writing melodies can oftentimes be one of the most difficult and frustrating parts of writing music. I can crank out a beat, bass line, chord progression, all that stuff, and then I end up overthinking and overcomplicating my melodies and am wasting a bunch of time on it. So I want to show you a technique that I use sometimes to just generate a bunch of ideas using some generative music techniques to make a bunch of ideas and then cherry pick the best bits and then turn that into your melody. So that's what we're going to get into today. Before we dive into that, I do want to let you know if you are enjoying the content on the channel, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Check out the Patreon, check out the Discord. I really appreciate all the support the channel's gotten over the last year, and let's keep it going. So diving right into it, we're going to start with just a little operator patch. It's a little plucky sound. Sounds kind of like that. It's just an operator with a delay on it and a compressor in case I need to sidechain it later on. So we're going to take this idea and we're going to start using a bunch of different MIDI effects to just be able to generate tons and tons of ideas off of it. So to start off, we're going to just go into our clip here and we're just going to make a MIDI note. It literally doesn't matter what MIDI note it is. It can be any one MIDI note. We're just going to make a 1-bar MIDI note and just play that. So we're going to take this one note and we're going to run it through a bunch of MIDI effects, like I mentioned, and we're going to start with the arpeggiator. The arpeggiator is going to take that MIDI note and repeat it. Let's get rid of the kick drum for right now. Just playing that MIDI notes, and we're going to go ahead and speed this up. That. Then what we're going to do is we're going to run that into the random device. So the random device is going to take that MIDI note that's repeating, and it's going to randomly output another MIDI note. So based off the chance set here. So if I have a 50% chance, it's going to have 50% chance of being the note that I'm playing in my MIDI note, and a 50% chance of being any other of 12 notes higher than it. So we'll hear what that sounds like. Like that. That's an okay place to get started. However, let's turn this up a bit so we only get occasionally that original note. Now the big issue you might see here is that because it's random, it's playing any note up to 12 higher. If we want to change that to smaller, we can have a smaller range of notes. But either way, it's not in key, right? So we want to be able to keep this in key. And to do that, we're going to be using the scale device. The scale device is one of the kind of weirder MIDI effects. So instead of just starting from scratch, we're going to go in here and there's a bunch of built-in scales, which is really handy. And we're going to stick with the minor scale like that. So this is going to be randomly playing notes. And then the scale device will restrict it to only playing specific notes. So in this case, right now, every note that passes through here will be kind of stuck into the C minor key. Like that. If we want to change the key, say we want to be in like F sharp minor. Now everything's in F sharp minor. Like that. Now the next big issue we're going to run into is that it's constantly playing 16th notes. And sometimes I like that. And sometimes I want to have space in between it, right? Like music's about like the space in between the notes is really important too, right? So what we're going to do here is in our scale device, anytime there's a repeat, we're going to get rid of the second one. So what this means is essentially that if this was going to play, what is this? That's F sharp. So this is going to be G. If it plays G, it's going to round it down to the F sharp. However, if we get rid of it, that means that anytime it would play one of those notes, instead of outputting a note, it's going to just output silence or no MIDI notes. So by doing that, we're still stuck with the notes in F sharp minor. However, it occasionally will have spaces in between whenever it triggers one of those notes that we got rid of by just clicking on it. So now we have empty space between them, which I think oftentimes sounds a lot better. That space is random though, so sometimes you might get huge chunks of space, sometimes you might get a bunch of notes in a row. It's going to vary a little bit, but that's part of randomization. And then from here, if we want to kind of like, make this a little bit more interesting, we could also add like a velocity device. And then what I like to do is just turn up the random control a little bit. And that way we get a little bit of randomization to the velocity, which will affect the volume, make it sound a little bit more natural. like that. And then on top of that, if we want to get a little bit more involved, we could add the steps control. That means that it's going to move up an octave occasionally. So right now it's going to be alternating between the note I'm playing and an octave higher, and again, jumping up and down to different octaves. If we don't want it to go every other one, we could set the style here to also be random. So that way, occasionally it'll randomly go up an octave, and occasionally it'll stay in the octave we're playing. Or if we set this to 2, it'll occasionally randomly go up 1 octave or 2 octaves. So this will have a really wide range. 2 is usually a little bit too much for me, but just to hear what it sounds like. Versus 1. Cool. So that gets me everything I want here. And if I want to change the range of the notes, I can make this a smaller range of notes. If I want there to be greater chance of being my, one note versus the other, we can adjust this. We can kind of mix and match different techniques here. We can make the notes longer versus shorter. We can customize velocity, we can customize all the sounds in there, and we have, again, just generating notes that will create something, and sometimes it'll sound cool and sometimes it won't. When you're using randomness, I think it's really helpful to be able to record it. So what we're going to do is on a separate MIDI track here, in the MIDI from, we're going to grab MIDI from this track right here, which is the track that I've been just experimenting with. I'm going to record enable it and hit record, and it's going to record all that MIDI information for me. And I can let that go for as long as I want. I can let it go for 3 or 4 minutes, and then again, go in and cherry pick the best bits of it. So as of right now, there's nothing on this MIDI track. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop this guy, and I'm just gonna copy and paste these guys out of here, put it on my MIDI track. And now if I say, for example, I liked bar 5 through 7, I can just loop that a little bit, hear what that sounds like. Or if I don't like that, I like bar 7 through 9 or whatever. Cool, now I have something that I can start working with, and it took me almost no effort. And if I really like it and I want to edit even more, oftentimes what I'll do is I'll duplicate the track, I'll freeze it, I'll flatten it, and then now I've got the audio version, and then maybe I will like reverse it or like chop it up or do weird things to it. Whatever you want, you can keep editing it and going from there. But that's the idea here, is just be able to generate lots of ideas with very little effort. So I'm using the arpeggiator, kind of mixing and matching the style, rate, gate, and steps control, running it through the random device, and then running it through the scale device, and then deleting of any of the repeat notes, and then just setting the bass to whatever key I want my song to be in. And then optional, you can add velocity controls on top of it, and then run that into whatever sound you want. You can run it to pianos and synthesizers. You can even do this for bass lines if you want to. There's tons of cool combinations just for like generating ideas, and then once you got something you like, loop it and move on with your life. So that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully that is informative. Try it out for yourself. Really dive into these MIDI effects. A lot of people, I think, don't appreciate the MIDI effects for how cool they can really be and how useful they can be when it comes to just generating ideas. So try it out for yourselves and let me know in the comment section below. But that's gonna be it for this video. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again in another one.